very little research going on. There's a lot of work on agricultural labor, farm labor, factory labor, but very little research of the new age career, women participation, women entrepreneurship, women leadership at workplace. So we have invited some of the people who are working on these issues here. We have Sarita Khatta. She has come from Nepal and she's an educator at the Kathmandu University School. And her focus is education for sustainable development. She is the Nepal's country ambassador for Awareness 360, highlighting the broader impact between academia, beyond academia. Professor Irene Lalruat Kimi, she is from Mizoram, and she is from the mass communication at the Mizoram University. So what we'll do is now we'll have a discussion which will be moderated by Professor Shormishta Banerjee, and our main objective to understand that how can research institutions, policy makers, practitioners, we can all collaborate together to discuss the whole agenda of how we can make a more enabling ecosystem for women to participate and lead in workplaces. As you may be aware, SDG 5 is the Gender Equality Sustainable Development Goal, and none of the countries in the world have achieved it and will be able to achieve it by 2030. So we really need to do things differently. So with that, over to you, Shormishta.
Thank you so much, Aruna, and good morning, all of you. This is a panel discussion, and I think I, being the moderator, will speak the least and allow our very brilliant panelists. Are we expecting someone else here? Are we expecting someone else? So we have, besides me, we have 3 more panelists, and the issue that we are all collaborated on, agreed upon, is how to lead the pathway for women to rise. Since we talk about rising women today, a lot has been said yesterday and very insightful discussions have emerged this morning. I will say, in very briefly, personal history. I'm calling this history because I'm ancient history. I did my education from a very middle class school in Kolkata. That did not stop me from getting my Fulbright application sanctioned. When I got my first Fulbright scholarship in 2005, the Eastern Region Officer of Education USA told me, every Fulbrighter goes to an Ivy school. Why don't you try looking at the lesser known schools? That changed my life. I went to a small school which taught or allowed me to co-teach small business, because I teach business management in India and specialization is entrepreneurship. That's where 80% of the women in India are engaged. I was so impressed by American education system that I wanted to keep learning, and I continued my pursuit, and in 2012 I qualified for another Fulbright, and I went to an even faraway location. I went for a scholar in residence to a community college. And you know what community college is? Students who don't get opportunity to go to college. So they are the bridge between high school and college. They have discontinued, and they come back to go back to college, the 2-year associate degree. That opened my mind, that the Western world alone does not have the challenges that we have the challenges. Today when I look back and when I read World Bank literature, I find that the World Bank says that as a starting point, every country, every economy can achieve its potential or meet the challenges of the 21st century with full and equal participation of women, men, boys and girls. So there is one thing I would add to today's theme. It is not only rising women, it is also women and men rising. Because the United Nations says he for she. So unless we have the men in society supporting this rise, we will be fighting a lone battle. The World Bank also, I did not bring PowerPoints because it's very easy for us to do that. Bring a slide. I am a teacher, I do that every day. I didn't want to do that today. The World Bank shows that South Asia is one of the outliers when the participation of men is double the participation of women. So there is so much that we can do. So when we talk about what can we do, what policy recommendations can we do in the convergence between academia, research, policymakers, and hands-on practitioners. There are many non-profit representatives in this room. So where did we find the convergence? Because we operate in silos. The academia are interested in their publications. The policymakers are interested in the white paper documents. The non-profit sectors work where their passion lies, and of course, where there is funding. I myself have been working with a lot of non-profits for many years. We cannot operate where there is no funding. So in spite of the passion that we have, we definitely need the support. So to bring about this convergence between the policymakers, the academia, and the practitioners on the field, there was this World Bank study that I had the opportunity to participate in, which spoke about the rural areas of West Bengal and how the women, in spite of being enrolled in colleges, because there is Konashri and a lot of money being conditional cash transfer being given. They were all enrolled in colleges, but they stuck to their gender prototype economic livelihood activities, which was all the low-grade skill development activities. So this is the background that we bring our discussion to. And as I invite my co-panelists to talk about their experiences, I would share with you a few of the things that I have thought. A woman passes through many life cycles. I will say life phases, I should put it as. When she is born, when a girl is born, the daughter is bought a lot of dolls and the son is bought cars. And sometimes, unfortunately, in some parts of India, they're also bought play guns. So that is where the discrimination begins. So when you are gifting a child something, just think about it. When she goes to school, she's taught history and geography. She has not a class devoted or a period in the timetable devoted to career choices. There are many school teachers here, so I raise this before you. And do we have a class which talks to them about sports as a career? About health science as a career? We don't. Now when they finish school, they don't know what they're supposed to do. They do the state-sponsored courses, which in India are the bachelor degree courses and the master's degree courses, where fees are almost negligible. So they enroll for MA in history to become a school teacher. So which college does an outreach program publicizing the different new opportunities that are being opened up? How many students in the best of engineering schools, in computer science and mechanical engineering and electrical engineering, are women? If you just take a picture of the classroom, it will indicate that our system needs to think about it. So we have professors from engineering schools here. So my request is to just think about how women can be engaged, because the World Bank does offer special facilities for women in STEM, that is women in science, technology, education and management. But how can we apply it? Universities and colleges have a lot of autonomy, and we teachers have the pathway to lead the students. So if we talk of rising women, they have to be risen when they are 18. We cannot give them a pill when they are 25 that yes, tomorrow onwards you are rising. Well, when we go to college, there are subject hierarchies, and the interest in the girls, mostly the girl students, is in the humanities. Do you know that in Calcutta, the class 11, 12 schools for the boys, the typical good boys schools, St. Xavier, St. Lawrence, La Martiniere, St. James, whatever we name it, they do not offer 11, 12 humanities for the boys. It is not offered. So the boys' school, so to encourage these rural girls, I would talk about the role of policy influence, integrating academia and practitioners, and would like to invite, now, you're talking about, she's talking about women in media from Mizoram University, and Irene. She will tell us exactly hands-on what I gave you the overview of. So over to Irene.
As the introduction goes, my name is Irene Kimi, difficult to pronounce for many of you. I am a professor in the Department of Mass Communication, Mizoram University. So this is our university in Mizoram. All are welcome anytime. Okay, so we were talking about media. We know how important is the media, especially in a democracy setup. Media, we always call it as a fourth pillar. And then media is omnipresent. Just imagine yourself right from the time you get up from the bed, you started scrolling your mobile, right from the time you sleep. Everything, what we have to do and not, the weather, everything is taught by the media. So it is omnipresent. And you know those traditional media days, like the newspaper, the television, and the radio only, we consider media for information, education, and entertainment only. Yes? So now, new media, what we call social media, has come up. And we know it has many positive and negative effects as well. So everything is about business. If one is doing something on social media, it's a business of a person or a company. We are very sure of that. And no longer media is becoming a gatekeeper. There is no editor, nothing is there. Everyone just uploaded everything. So the media is coming down a lot. And then we all are bombarded with information. We don't know what information to look at, which one to choose. We are bombarded with information. And then we have a research before the pandemic, and in this research, we come up to a result of a statement that it is an unwritten truth that politics and media are considered only as a man's job and interest in society, because Mizo society is a patriarchal society. But after the bombarding of social media, today if you come to Mizoram, you will see that we have many women involved in politics. Right now, we have a cabinet minister as a cabinet minister in the government now, and the above statement have been totally changed by the media. Next. And then it was also, the research also saying that it is open to females, but non-technical work, like hosting a program, reading a newspaper. But after the digital media, all these things have been taken away. Women are becoming reporters. In fact, the best reporters we have in Mizoram are women. They are mothers, and many are married as well. And then we have lots of many women YouTubers who are earning a lot as well. Next. Okay, so before it was that married women are not entertained much. We have heard the problem of our one colleague who was there in the last session. Yes, women, when we got married, when we moved from single to the married and having babies, we have Yeah. But the social media world, the digital media world has changed this a lot. So what is very important among women is that we need to support each other. Instead of backbiting, instead of doing something else, women and women, now we have many entrepreneurs here and school teachers and other colleagues in the teaching line. The most important thing is that we women, if we are not supporting each other, we cannot come up. Yes, the next one. See, recently we were having a international conference in the Department of Mass Communication. This is our scholar. Recently she got married and is having a baby. So we encourage her to keep on going in the research because she's a very good scholar. So whenever we have conference, she will come with the paper and we will be holding her babies during her paper presentation. Yes? Yeah, this is how we hold in our result session. Okay, we hold in Mizoram, we are fans of football. I hope you all know. We have Indian captain Jeje, and in Calcutta also we have many famous footballers. So football was considered only as a male. But because of the media, today, recently, we are having a Mizoram Premier League and three women have qualified as a national referee. Yes. Women are now doing the referee work in the ongoing Mizoram Premier League like men. So in sport journalism also, what happened is that in sport journalism, we have many things to cover in sports. Women are not look different, okay? Women can interview more of the sport person and are very much welcome. And women sport journalists are very encouraged. There is no harassment according to our research, and women are very doing well in their reporting as well. So the male and the female has no difference now, especially in reporting. Yes, next, I'll go to read out. So when we come to social media marketing, we all know, especially during the pandemic, online marketing was becoming very easy. So now we have lots of women entrepreneurs who are working on social media, social marketing. Many of our dresses, many of our traditionals are being sent out of our state, even to the foreign countries as well. So in social media marketing, women are also doing very well. Yes, next. Okay, so the future for the women in media is what I want to tell is that digital media has made work more easier, and there is no proximity. Whether we are far away from the mainland or from the foreign, whether we are in the border, because of digital media, proximity is no longer a barrier. And so women, single or married, we have a great chance in both technical and non-technical works. And so with the everyday advancement of media, there are lots of chances for coming up in the field of media. And I would like to encourage all the students, like there is lots of chances in media, even in your own area. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kirin. A wonderful way forward that a remote state like Mizoram has brought rise to so many women in sports. I would now like to invite Ren Bene, who will talk about the workforce participation of women in Nagaland.
Thank you for the time, and hello everyone. I think I should come down here because our friends over there cannot see us. I'm Ben from the economics department. I have many boring facts and figures to show, so I will stand over here and maybe run through some of the workforce dynamics in the northeastern state, including I just have 7 minutes. I'm going to run the marathon here, okay? So what we're going to do here in today's quick talk is I'm going to talk about the dynamics of the workforce participation, particularly focusing Nagaland. As we all know that down the line, in the history of the women's participation in the workforce, we have, yes, we can move on to the slide. Yes, we have many scholars and the scholarship that indicated that women were the first agriculturists, women were the first pottery makers, women were the first textile producers. But there is complementing with what Lisa has just mentioned, the feminist economist, okay, Esther Bostrom has mentioned that no woman, even women were the first agriculturists or they are the first potters. Women has been discriminated from the past and they are discriminated today as well. In terms of the workforce divisions, we also see women in the occupational segregation, the roles that they play, and also the differential in the wage payment. The situation gets more worse when there is a technological improvement in the economy. So as the technology improves in the economy, women always get subordinated role in all the sectors, be it agriculture, be it manufacturing, or be it tertiary sector. You see in the agriculture, when a new power tiller is been introduced, or we start using tractors, the men were given the first opportunity to skill up themselves, okay, and women get always the subordinated role. So as the technology improves, as well the work of Esther Bostrom, women were always left behind. We move on. But when we look into Northeast, the scenario is different. Because in the Northeast, particularly in the places like Mizoram, Meghalaya, Nagaland, right, women always have advantages in terms of the flexible gender norms, right? Women have more voice, women have more participation, right? Women's educations are also doing great, right? So let me just quickly move on to the next slide and talk about, since we talk about women's participation in the workforce, it is important to look into the parameters. One of the important parameters, education. Looking into the data, we see that female education is significantly doing great, even though it's below men. And also we see, if we look into the dropout rates, we see that the boys are higher in terms of women, in terms of girls. And if we move on to the death standard, women are doing great. These are recent data from 2001 to 2023. Then where are these women in the workforce in that case? Let's move on to the next data. So this data is quite interesting when we look into the PLFS data, the Periodic Labour Force Survey data from the year 2017-18 to 23-23. We see the data has been segregated between rural and the urban, and also between male and female. We see in the rural female, we see a huge woman labor force participation, which is 71.1%, as compared to the urban female, which is just 52.2%, the highlighted figures, right? So what do we get to see over here? We can also debate that in this yellow line, which is the whole Nagaland female workers' participation rate. It is rising quite massively, but this is concentrated only in the rural Nagaland, not in the entire Nagaland. Then what happens to the work population ratio? Similar picture we get to see in the workers' population ratio. We have more female in the rural area and compared to the urban, but in general we have the female workers population lesser compared to the men in both rural and urban. Now, but if you see in comparing to the entire India, the women in the Northeast, particularly in Nagaland, are higher workers' participation ratio, or the labor force ratio, labor force rate are higher in comparison with India. Now, Nagaland women are more in the labor force. If we move on to the unemployment rate, here it becomes more interesting. You see, the unemployment rate in the rural Nagaland, there was a huge unemployment rate during the time of the COVID period. Which are the time? 2021, right? So there is a huge unemployment rate where in the recent last year data according to the PLFS survey, it is just 2% in the rural area, and in the urban it is 8.7, right? I have to compete with the sound outside. Right, so the 2% over here, which means there is higher workforce, labor force in the rural, so that indicates there is a lesser unemployment rate in the rural. Now, where do women get employment in the rural areas? If you look into more dynamic this workforce participation. Can you move on to the next slide? When we look into who are this group of the people who are largely unemployed, the age between 15 to 29 are the ones who are largely unemployed, which means freshly graduate and master's program. Okay, so if we look into the, can we have the next slide? Yeah, if we look into the education, that complements the data here. Graduate and the postgraduate above are largely unemployed in Nagaland as compared to all the data here. So this is from the year 2017 to 21. These are recent data. And if we look into the comparison in the Northeast entire, we see Nagaland, Manipur, and Assam has the highest workers population ratio and also unemployment rate in these states in the rural men and similar figure in the rural female, right? So this is Nagaland, Manipur, Assam has highest rate of unemployment and also workers population ratio. When you move into then where these women in the rural area are getting absorbed, we see in the rural Nagaland, these people, the women in the rural Nagaland are getting absorbed largely in the agriculture sector, which is 72.4%. Are we going to agree that there is a feminization of agriculture happening in Nagaland? That is a huge research area to explore. And if we look into, the industrial distribution as per the urban male and the female, we also see here there is a huge. Yeah. So in the farm and the non-farm sector, we also see that the larger women in the rural female are in the agriculture, which is 75.707 as compared to the non-farm sector. So what does this indicate? Agriculture sector is absorbing larger, which is the river. All the educated women are going back to agriculture. Are we going to indicate through this data? So what the government needs to do is, the policymakers need to do is, maybe we can go on to the last slide here, since we're running out of time. Yes. What we need to do is in Nagaland, especially the entrepreneurs. The women are largely absorbed in the agriculture, and in the agriculture sector in Nagaland, we have a larger capacity for entrepreneurship to grow in terms of horticulture, floriculture, and olivericulture. So these are some of the aspects which women can explore, women can team up together and come up with new innovative entrepreneurial ideas where they can explore this area, and also not only this area can be also supported by the platform and the shared economy, which if we had maybe 1 more minutes more, we're going to discuss more, but I'm going to close it from here and I'm going to stop my lecture.
Thank you so much for your wonderful and very hard work that you put in behind this presentation. We hope we could hear this for the entire session. But this leaves us to thinking what resources I have and how I can utilize opportunities. So I hand over, let's try.
Sarita Khatta, and I'm from Kathmandu University, School of Education. I'm really sorry I haven't been the presentation, but as an educator, as a research assistant at university, I would like to share my insight, how am I working, how the Kathmandu University is working to promote, women empowerment in our country. So before starting into my presentation, I would like to ask you one question. How many of you think that the word entrepreneurship is, mainly focused, traditionally it is highly male dominated? How many of you think that? Is it correct? It's women, entrepreneurship is, field it is highly male dominated area. Do you agree? Traditionally? Yes? Alright, so in our context, the entrepreneurship is highly male dominated. But so if we see the current status and research report, it says that women's participation is increasing massively in this field. It's a very good news. But the bad news is that, 1 in 6 women, we aspire to be, aspire to be an entrepreneur, to be a worker in some sort of job activation and all. But ideation, the thought of going into a job to promote, the skills into the action, and the phase after the ideation, early career growth, and after that, scaling up. There are lots of phases that women, we face lots of problems, And from our friend from Nepal, our research has said that, if you sustain the first 3 years of your entrepreneurship, duration, that is a very difficult time. 30% women drop out that period. One of the friends, she's outside, she said that I have a baby at home and she's like 6 months old and still she's there and she's participating us, right? But for most of the women, definitely we are in the forum discussion, we are panelists here, we are from the academia, we are the practitioner. It's really hard for us to maintain the first 3 years, the first year of the entrepreneurship, first 3 years of any workspace or in any academic situation to perform in a better way. So that is the scenario in case of our Nepal. So what is the center? I'm working in the center called Continuing and Professional Education Center that focuses on the teacher education. So what that center is doing is we are doing the curricular intervention. Definitely, I can see the expectation. What are your key takeaways? What are your expectations from this, session? I saw that, we have the curriculum gap, right? Our teachers, our curriculum is centrally designed that focuses much more on the knowledge, that focuses much more on the cognitive domain. However, to sustain in the unpredictable future, we never know what sort of workforce is required after 20 years. We never know what sort of skills that we need to have after 10 years. So that sort of uncertain situation we are living with, and we are completely unaware. Any sort of COVID was there in 2019, what sort of pandemic might come after 2 years or 5 years, or what sort of skills we need to have after those sort of pandemics. We are still living in a world that is unpredictable. So the curriculum that we are lobbying at the moment is the curriculum that needs to gain the students lots of knowledge. Definitely the knowledge has to be there, and there's a huge gap between knowledge and information, right? So knowledge that really helps students to inquire, to do the research, and to have the broader range of understanding from around the world that we are looking at. Knowledge is another aspect, and another aspect is skills. Definitely we need skills to promote and to present our ideas, to work, to have our knowledge into the action. So skills is required. At the same time, what we are working is attitude. Definitely attitude is one of the mandatory aspects that we are focusing on. We are focusing on the value-based education. We can see that lots of knowledge will be there, right? Lots of, skills will be there. But the attitude, oh, I'm a girl. Oh, I'm from the very poor background. What am I going to do? What will be the future of my, I'm from the very backward family. I'm from the, unprivileged family. So that sort of mindset, we have to break that mindset also. So Kathmandu University School of Education is also working on the breaking the mindset that is, holding us behind. And another aspect is that we are working on the teachers' competency framework. Definitely to teach our future generation, to teach our alpha generation. The children are sitting outside, they're there with us, they are watching us. To teach them, but the teacher also has to be very competent enough, right? Very confident enough in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, in terms of engaging them in the various aspects. So we also focus much more on the curriculum, pedagogy, teaching and learning aspect, and at the same time assessment. How do we assess the alpha generation? Are we still focusing on the 3 hours of exams? So the university is focusing on the curriculum, assessment and pedagogy, and we are also doing that sort of aspect. And another one aspect that I also see that the Tibet. Now we are working with 200 plus schools around the community, around the Nepal, and that focuses much more on the technical vocational education and training. That gives you, the Tibet, the entrepreneurship empowerment is not a separate entity, but that's in it. It's a kind of virtue that we own it. It's a kind of virtue that we, have it in our soul. So we focus it much more on the skills and education that not only gives you your knowledge, but that gives you skills as a part of curriculum. So that comes with the implementing the local curriculum. All the municipality around the Nepal, it has the, they can have their own local curriculum, so teachers can build the project, work with the students, and they can promote the Tibet-based education in their context and in their form. And definitely students are here, we are so much involved in making projects in the schools, right? But what sort of project, what is the utility, and what are the sustainability? Ma'am also said that women are growing, we are rising, the participation is slightly, it's a really, we can see the participation is really high. But the main challenge is sustaining. I've said that the report said that 30% of women participation, 30% of female co-workers, they quit their job, they just go back into their own place, just because the barriers they have seen. And the very worst part of it is, among those 30%, almost 50% in our context, in Nepali context, they never join the workforce or never join the entrepreneurship. So it's a very scary fact, and definitely so this is the situation and scenario. And I could see the beautiful students over here, and I really want to inspire you, motivate you, just be aware and just do the practice. We are the lifelong learners, and learning never ends. So keep on learning and keep on learning from your friends, with yourself, with the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Sarita, and I'm so sorry to have stopped you because we want to give everyone an opportunity to talk. There's only one thing I will hand over to the researchers who will present their papers, beginning with Trishala. And as I thank the three of you, my submission to this audience is, you don't have to start a business to be an entrepreneur. You can be entrepreneurial in thought as a teacher, as a student, as an NGO worker, which we go by the name of intrapreneurship. So we all have brilliant ideas, we just have to put them in practice. So thank you, Renbene, Irene, and Sarita. So may we call upon Trisha to start Trishala from Darjeeling to deliver her lecture. Trishala, we'd like you to be on the same floor. And thank you. Following Trishala, we'll have someone closer home, Rituparna, and after that Pune. From Meher from Pune.
So today what I'm going to present is about Darjeeling non-farm sector. Whenever I say that I'm from Darjeeling, I usually get one of the answers from these two that, oh, it's a very beautiful place, I've been there, the scenic beauty and all, toy trains. And another is, oh, I really want to be in that place, I really want to visit that place, it has been in my bucket list. So, but what they don't know, not only them, but I myself being the native, don't know that there lies the beast within the beauty of the Darjeeling. Okay, so, long story short, Darjeeling we have three sectors, forestry, farm and non-farm. Women are involved in all the three sectors. And women in the urban areas of Darjeeling, there are few urban areas like Gu, Karshiang, Minik and Sukia Pokhari. Here women are actively in or absorbed in schools and colleges as teachers and also in some of the government offices as government employees. But there is the fact that majority of women in Darjeeling are employed in the non-farm sectors. I have a map of Darjeeling here. This is the map of Darjeeling before the bifurcation of the district. So I think many of us know that after 2017, this Darjeeling district was bifurcated between Darjeeling district and the district of Kalimpong. Next slide, please. Now, why I am showing this map is, if you come to the latest slide, the portion of Darjeeling, this is after the bifurcation. The green portion you are seeing on the left hand side, these are all the tea garden areas. And another, we can see only 4 green parts in the district of Kalimpong. So, bifurcation of district was in 2017. Most of the tea gardens came under the district of Darjeeling, keeping only few under the district of Kalimpong. After the bifurcation, the female labor force participation is higher in the district of Darjeeling. See this, the third point, it will come basically after if the government of India releases the next census, that is 2024. Okay, the start of my presentation is this analysis. Here I have combined 3 censuses, that is 1991, 2001 and 2012. Before the analysis of this data, I would like to share that when we talk about non-farm sector, we are basically talking about things that are away from land. But tea plantation is one of such things that despite being on the land, okay, it is not considered as agricultural. It will be misleading to call tea plantation as agriculture. So the workers who work in the tea plantation areas are considered or categorized in the level of other workers. So in this slide, starting from the upper row of 1991, 2001 and 2012, if you look into the last three columns, there is second last column is FOPHW. I don't know people from that side can see or not. This says these are the female or the workers who are in the tea plantation area. And after going through the analysis, it is like I can say that all in the three censuses we can see that the participation of women. Okay. So this shows that women in the tea plantation area are like they are mostly observed in this area, and they are known as non-farm workers. Next slide, please. So as you all know, I'm talking about women tea workers. So the problem, okay, the difficulties these women go through is as casual workers. There's a very beautiful point that I would like to include, that when there was women and men in the sector, there was a wage disparity. So after fighting for a lot of years, they were given the same amount of wage, not salary, because they work in daily basis. But what the women lost was they were casualized. Instead of being permanent, they were casualized, but they were given the same wage. So apart from this, when they were casualized, they became more vulnerable, because if you are a casual worker, you have no right, you will become more vulnerable and there will be no union to protect you. So this is the case. Another slide. So the support we need, we are talking about entrepreneurs and all, but access to education, training and all, it's fine. Okay, so long story short, next slide. Okay, so in Darjeeling and in Karachi, I would like to give a small example. People who have been to Darjeeling may know where the Head and Hall is. This is one of the Catholic-run NGO, non-government NGO, where this institute, they help like uplifting women. Until then, they have uplifted 20,000 women, giving them training, skills, and all. And not only this, they are giving remedial classes for the children also after school. But since this kind of help is there, but they are in a very small scale. So the need is to bring in more capital, so that this kind of activities will go in a bigger scale. And another is like you can see the lollipops there. It is from Kalimpong. So as I said, so this Kalimpong is, see, I have told you that majority of the tea garden areas came under. Okay, next slide. I have so much more to say. It's okay. So now. This is the last slide about the urban sector, where the women from the rural sector, they came and migrate in the urban sector in search of good work. But the thing is, from the rural area, from poor rural area, they come to this urban area to become urban poor. Because here they don't get formal, work. So they end up in street vending, which is like, it is very beneficial for us, because whatever we get on the street is very cheap. But we are not able to stand for their rights, because they are facing no union. Like, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Mizoram has a very strong union for the street vendors, which our Darjeeling people lack. So, to conclude, there's one thing I would like to say. These are all the street vendors, and there are eateries to the left hand side. If you go to Darjeeling now, after 5, you will find lots of street stalls across the street, eateries, and I think this is the new sector where a research could be done. This is the thing. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
I just wanted to add that all this information we share, and the reason we are doing this presentation is because we have universities and colleges here, and when we started the work 2 years back, we found very little information. That's why we approached all these universities, Women's Studies Department to do research, and so they are sharing. And we really look forward to more universities and more colleges and even schools. You know, you do projects all the time. So please engage your students in such local research and build knowledge. We are lacking knowledge and information.
Good afternoon. Hello, I'm Vidya Shah. Well, I would like to talk about breaking codes, building features, the empowerment of women in South Asian State community. Basically, like ma'am was talking about STEM. Women in technology and data face historical underrepresentation and ongoing challenges. The shift towards more accessible STEM education with corporate initiatives and flexible work policies highlights these innovations. And basically, why women are seen lesser in STEM education, especially in electrical engineering. There are only 9% of women. And overall in India, just 34%. And more into rural areas, I guess around 3%. And the worst condition is about the technology, basically on the gaming. If there's a gaming educations, women don't have any facilities over there in the gaming world. Only men are getting this development working in the game area. Maybe it's there is like games like there's a game on a women, but that is also not specified by a woman, by a man. In India, the participation of women's STEM is very comparatively lower than the Western also. More importantly, I would like to talk about Dalit women and indigenous communities. They never get a chance to get a higher education in STEM because due to the economic issues as well as political issues as well. That needs to get improved and one more thing, not only the economical issues, there is a social norms and practices like domestic, when a Dalit community women, they are usually seen as manual scavenging. They are more seen into the work that are like plumbing or manual scavenging or more into household works. Even after they will get a good graduation also, they never get a chance to read in a better technology or in a better IIT centers. One more thing is systematic discrimination and lack of infrastructure, then community engagement, and the more important thing is another thing that never been mentioned is ADHD and anxiety disorder. Women always need really psychological health conditions and this. I'm actually getting hard so that I just finish the whole thing. Okay. A comprehensive psychological evaluation is a very critical step to which we can identify the women's mental health condition. That is very important. That's very important and needed in all sectors. When women are working in the farms, they really need that because a mental piece of thing is very important, and also the less harassment issue should be. Okay, so why women usually lose interest in STEM? Basically, there's lack of support from the family, lack of support from the teachers, and always it's been male dominated. It's a fact because we are actually belonging to a patriarchal society. So more often women are always encouraged to go more in other subjects rather than arithmetics and science. In workplace also, women need more force than a male child. Like we have seen, Mongolia had the highest shared women in the STEM technology, like in 57%, and 18% in the software developments in India, and 25% in computer science technologies. So this is one of the statistics gaps and the gender gap in technological sector. Like they don't get better wages like male. As I've already mentioned, in short, the gender discrimination and barriers. The patriarchal society's norms in India restricts women's mobility to access resources and financial autonomy. guardian of indigenous working women. And before I should speak about this, as you all know, Simone de Beauvoir has already said about in the second sex that women are always doubly marginalized. I would say Dalit women and indigenous women are triple marginalized. One as a women, second being they are from the class, and third as caste.
Thank you, Ritu, for that. Thank you for bringing about this intersectionality of Dalit poor women. So before I hand over to Meher, I would just like, as you come up, please Meher come up. I would like to raise another issue in everyone's mind. When women go to work, how much of their menstrual hygiene is taken care of? We have done these studies sponsored by World Bank as well as by National Commission. Pick up your slide. By National Commission of Women, which has a focus on tea gardens and on labours in the marginalized areas, that there is absolutely no provision for menstrual hygiene for women at work.
A very good afternoon to everybody. I am Meher. I am a labor economist, and today I will be sharing some insights, a few insights from our paper, Opt-out Revolution, Educated Females Labor Supply Decision in India. So here is the picture of the participation rate of Indian married urban females across time. And you all can observe the famous U curve across the education levels. Those who have lesser education levels, they are through poverty pushed into the labor force. And with structural transformation and with rising education levels, there is a pull of career into the labor force. Our study area is the last column, the higher educated females. And if you can observe carefully, their participation rate has been declining over time and it has stagnated to a low 25%. So, before we begin, I would like to formulate a simple structure which will act as a lens to look at this problem, which is going to be suitable for an Indian married female. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of the mathematical models and the analytics that we economists generally tend to do, but I would like you all to consider this as a simple thinking exercise. So there is a female and she has some human capital. She can exchange it in the labor market, but at the same time, she is also a part of many other complex structures which also value her education, such as the marriage market. And we all know that the demand for educated wife has been on the rise. Our argument is that this decline in participation rate of higher educated females is her own poor selection due to marriage market dynamics. The peculiarity of the marriage system is that with marriage, a female not only changes her household, but she also changes the position that she holds within the household. So now from a daughter, she is a daughter-in-law, a mother, wife, and so on. And the household, we consider the household to be a unit that is comprising of many members, and they are linked to each other through the relationship structure, and the household has assigned roles to these different members based on the relationship structure. So here we can say that the household receives a utility when the female completes her responsibilities, whatever you can imagine a married female to be doing inside the household, given her exchange-based work. And the interaction that this has with the labor market is that the female's time is constrained. There is only so much that she can do in a day, and there are both contesting for her time, the labor market as well as the household. So the female has to decide how much time she has to spend in the labor market and how much time she has to spend in the household. So the household maximizes the utility. This is the problem of the household. The household has to demand the optimal amount of time from the female in order to maximize its utility. I will not go into all of it. But so this TC star, when we do all of the analytical acrobatics, we get this TC star as the optimal amount of time demanded. However, household is not just only a purely extractive patriarchal unit, it is also a family. And inside a family, it could be an equitable setup where they do not differentiate between the core members, that is, those who stay with the household till eternity, such as sons and fathers, and the contracting members through marriage, such as wives and daughter-in-laws. And Here we represent it by this parameter sigma. Similarly, a family can also have some attachment, some bond between them, which will make them feel bad for extracting a little more time from their own family member, which can be represented by the parameter psi. So you see the beauty of these models. We are able to incorporate such complexities into our framework. Now the interaction with the labor market is this contest for time. So naturally, because the household wants to get that optimal amount of time, it is going to incentivize the female by giving it some extra reward, some prize, some opt-out reward for her to leave the labor market and come and join these household duties. And that here we get as lambda by theta. Lambda is a Lagrange multiplier. If anybody is interested, we can take it up later, but we incorporate this in our specification. However, it's not just the supply or the household side. When we are talking about labor markets, there's also a demand side. There's also a firm side. The structural transformations happening in a space, the growth of white-collar jobs, and all of these things interact with the decision-making of a female. But the married female is in a dilemma. Why? Because on one hand, she can go and fulfill her dreams, her aspirations, exchange her labor in the labor market. But at the same time, the household to which she belongs is also interacting with the space. A household is also an intergenerationally aspirational unit. It also wants the next generation to be better, for which it would require the female to come back into the household. And it is the tightness of patriarchy that will decide then that how much she is actually able to positively respond to demands, rather than how much she is actually unable to positively respond to demand and enter more into the
Much as we would like to hear more.
I would just take 1 minute and then
Yes, sure.
The other thing is that in a space when the white-collar jobs increase, the amount of greedy jobs also increase. What would this lead to? This would lead to specialization within the households. So the husbands would do the hard, time-consuming, greedy jobs, and the women will look at the children. So these effects, so there are dual forces that are acting through the space. One is increasing and the other one is decreasing her participation rate. So very quickly, let me come to the results. The first talk, so this is a participation rate model, and all I would like you to focus is that the first box that represents the positive and the negative force of the demand, and the second box is lambda by theta, which is our opt-out reward. And it has two forces. If you can see the last column, the first top negative is the negative of the incentivization that the household does in order to lure the female into the household, and the positive part is out of the bond that exists in the household and the consideration of, or you can say, couple equity or gender equity or household equity, that also has a positive impact through the household. So this is the final point that I want to make, and perhaps the most important point that I would like to make. If you look at this variable, technical education, so these are those females who have a degree in engineering or architecture or medicine and so on. And how you can read this table is that this coefficient, that's around 0.36, means that just by the virtue of this power of technical education, the participation rate increases by 36%. And this is massive. So in our paper, we do multiple tests to ensure that it is indeed